Today's episode is brought to you by MRC, a branding studio hailing out of Raleigh, North Carolina, where they focus on crafting killer design work for clients that love uber creative solutions for companies small and large. You can find and connect with them online at mrcraleigh.com. That's MRCRALEIGH, and at MRC Raleigh on Instagram. The good news is, if you find yourself reaching out, you'll most likely get to chat with yours truly. That's right, it's my little branding co, and we're here to make your brand or idea look amazing. So let's connect. Today's episode is also sponsored by Burny Wild's Adventure Sauce. Burny Wild is an adventure brand that's a place where my love of art and food come together in all the right ways. Burny Wild's Adventure Sauce is a chef-driven heat sauce that in my book is literally the tastiest and most versatile condiment on the planet. This is an everyday sauce that's perfect with salads, fries, burgers, sushi, and pasta. I call it comfort food in a bottle, and it's 100% all natural, plant-based, gluten-free, and flavor-packed. Its unique, craveable flavor has a chipotle smokiness that's perfectly balanced with its creamy carrot base, mixed with a bit of maple syrup, charred onion, miso, and ají amarillo. But don't take my word for it. If you want to see what others have to say, visit burnywilds.com to check out more. And speaking of, we also sell Burny Wild's comic books and comic panels created and signed by me, not to mention super dope stickers, shirts, and more. I'm giving each and every one of our Pencil Pushers listeners 20% off for their first online order to show my love for all you supporters of the podcast. So just go to burnywilds.com, place your order, and enter the code PENCIL. That's BURNYWILDS.com. That's it, folks. It's that easy. And now, without further ado, on to the show.
Recorded at the Kitchen Studios. This is the Pencil Pushers Podcast.
Welcome, Leadheads, to another fine episode of the Pencil Pushers Podcast. I am, as always, your humble host, Mike Rosado, and we've got another banger of an episode for you. Today, we present something a little special. As of this recording, in 1 week, I'll be headed to Wilmington, North Carolina to exhibit as an artist for my new brand, Burny Wilds. This will be my first ever booth exhibit at a Comic-Con, and I thought, what better way to prepare myself than talking to my good friend and personal Obi Wan Kenobi for all things comic art, Mr. Paul Friedrich. And what better way to share his advice than in a public forum like the Pencil Pushers Podcast. Paul is a seasoned Comic-Con artist, having exhibited at some of the biggest Comic-Cons in the world, like the granddaddy of them all, San Diego Comic-Con. If you're planning on having a booth at a Comic-Con, this is the episode for you. Learn all the ins and outs of how to make your appearance a raging success. Paul was throwing flames of wisdom left and right for us, and I can't wait for you to take it all in. So without further delay, I welcome you to sit back, relax, and enjoy our chat with Paul. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pencil Pushers Podcast. I am pretty excited. This is, well, for a number of reasons. Number one, this is our first in-person interview since the pandemic. Number one. Number two, I'm here with my good friend, the Obi Wan of comic art. My friend, Paul Friedrich, is here with me. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Mike. It's so good to see you in person.
Yes, it is.
and to be in the studio again.
I know, yeah. So this is Max Trujillo's podcast studio, which typically this is what it would have been like if we weren't crushed with the pandemic. We would have been doing a lot of those here. And it's just awesome to be back. And number three, the reason I'm excited is because fortuitously there has been an opportunity where I'm actually going to be at my first Comic-Con convention, not as a wandering pedestrian looking at all the cool art, but I'm actually going to have my own booth. And I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be at the Wilmington Geek Expo. You know, Paul and I hadn't seen each other in some time. And so I said, man, let's get a beer and hang out. It was really actually just to catch up. But because he is such a well-oiled machine in terms of him been doing this for so long as a pop icon, I would say. He's done a lot of conventions and he's done so much with his career so far that I always love talking to him because he's such a wealth of knowledge. And, he's already been on the podcast twice. And there's a reason for that. So this is numero tres. You're like a veteran of the Pencil Pushers podcast.
Is this a new record?
This is a new record. So was number 2, actually. But anyway, so what happened was I started asking him about what I need to know when I go to this convention as an artist. I'm sitting at this booth at Artist Alley. And as he started getting into it, I thought, this is way, 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 way too important to not share this. That's the main basis of this episode today. We're going to talk about some really important things for all you folks out there that have ever dreamed about being or are preparing for being at a Comic-Con convention as an artist. And Paul is going to run through the quick hit list of the most important things to watch out for, to be mindful of, and to get excited about. And so once again, Paul, thanks, man, for being here. Appreciate it.
I'm so very excited for you.
Thank you.
For your first convention. You're going to have so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited. So why don't we just get into it, man? I know you've got a nice little list here, and I'm going to ask you questions as we go along.
Right.
So
see if I get them right.
Yeah, let's roll right into it, buddy. What do we need to know, man? What's the first thing I need to be thinking about?
First thing you want to do is have your stuff. Have your artwork, have your books, have stickers, buttons, T-shirts, prints, posters, patches, whatever you want to get out there.
Okay, great. So basically, be prepared with, the obvious stuff. What are you going to sell, right? And I mean, I that's one of the things, like, as I researched, tried to find information, is like, what are people selling? And, people say they got pins and they got stickers and there's T-shirts and, of course, there's their own printed books that they're selling and stuff like that. But, I mean, are there trends? Are there things I need to be? What am I not doing? What's the big hit things that I always need to be kind of looking out for? Or is it usually some standard stuff and then maybe a couple of other extra highlights?
There's always trends. I haven't done a comic book convention in 2 years due to the pandemic, but there are trends. Like enamel pins were big for a while. They're still big, I believe, on the West Coast. There's different themes that come and go. Sometimes pirates are really big. Ninjas are really big. Zombies are always a big item at the conventions. But you want to stick with what's your dream? What's your goal?
Yeah.
Are you hoping you want to sell your stuff? Do you want a publishing deal? Do you want a movie deal, a Netflix deal?
Wow. You even think that boldly is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then arrange what it is that you're selling or promoting according to that. Is that?
It's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But also, are you looking, do you want to get your stuff out there? Do you want people to see it? Are you going there to make money?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going out there to get recognition and, get to meet editors and network with other artists or writers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, for me, I'm going there largely to promote this new brand I'm working on, which is Burny Wild, right?
Love it.
And it started out as a sauce brand, which it is. We sell like an amazing heat sauce. I've given you some.
Delicious.
Hope you love it. Awesome. But we did a Kickstarter campaign about 1.5 years ago and raised the money to get it into production. And then we also have, obviously, we've got the rewards that we want to give away. And one of them was a digital comic book that I assigned myself to produce as a reward. And I fell in love with it so much. It was always going to be at 10 panels, and it wound up being like 75 or something like that. And so I printed those up, and now I sell them. That's one of the things that I'm going to do. But overall, as you said, I do now have fallen in love with this. Kind of like your classic, iconic comic character, Onion Head Monster, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot that I dream about. And future goals of what I would like to do. I mean, I'd love to do a video game with this guy, So yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, you're going to this dream big.
Right.
You never know who's going to be walking down that table. There's stories in San Diego that Matt Groening, before he got The Simpsons, even before he was doing Life in Hell, was walking up and down the aisles with photocopy comic books, handing them out to anybody that would take it.
Oh, wow. He was just giving them away for free.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So making sure that we're getting across this list efficiently. So I keep all that in mind. What do I want to do with this brand, and how do I want to like approach it with just the people who are walking by, and then also potentially, you know, maybe people who want to help you do this a little bit bigger. When you're organizing that stuff, is it, you know, do you set up a booth at home and kind of, you know, do a test of sorts? What do you do to make sure that you're not like, oh, damn, I should have set this up completely different, or I don't even have room on my table anymore? I mean, what's standard practice?
If I was really smart and organized, I would totally do that. That'd be brilliant. My strategy is, if I'm flying, I pack 2 suitcases to the limit for the airlines of 50 pounds.
Just of the stuff you're going to sell?
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Put everything in those suitcases, everything I have, everything I can think of that I want to sell. I get to the convention, and then it's like Tetris. I'll figure out how to put everything on the table, how to get it. I've used to just display everything flat on the table. Since, as I progressed, I've added book displays and spinner racks.
Yeah.
One of my suggestions is look online for convention photos from conventions or Pinterest, and see how people display. People use milk crates or
I got these like metal. I guess it's like a metal crate thing that stacks three high.
It's all it's flat, and then you
got to build
together.
it. Yeah.
Those are great.
Okay. Yeah, and I also got these. I guess they're like stationary card. It's like what do you call it? Like a tiered stand.
Yeah, that's what I use.
And so I'm putting stickers and some smaller art panels on there and stuff like that. And then I have something else that I got too that elevates it, because that's what I keep hearing. You want to elevate your stuff so that it's not just all flat, so that when people walk by, they can actually see something that's attractive from afar, in the midst of, like, you know, a multitude of people that are, like, you know, walking in between their view.
It's going to be an ocean of color and pop culture, and noise.
Right.
How do you stand out? Yeah.
Yeah.
And a nice display, clean table is going to help you a lot.
Okay, great. Okay, so would you suggest that, though? Would you suggest that maybe you do a mock setup ahead of time?
If that's your thing,
okay,
go for it.
Right, yeah. Knowing me, probably I'd go your route.
most people are.
Although I am pretty paranoid about, like, you know, wanting to get it set up as quickly as possible. I think my fear is that I'll get there and I'm like running out of time. I know sometimes they allow you to do it like the day before, but that I don't think I want to do any of that. I want to do it like, I'm not going to leave any. Is that a thing? You can set. I guess you can set up some of the, like, maybe the backdrop art or whatever.
It's pretty safe. I'm not going to say it's 100% safe, but when they do let you come in the day before, the night before, you have more time, you're more relaxed, you can set up. And the convention floor is locked at night.
Okay.
And they have security. Most of the vendors and the artists selling, it's, you know, unspoken that no one's going to take from anybody.
Okay.
And then, you know, a lot of people will drape a tablecloth over your table. So it's like this unbreakable security system.
Okay. It sounds like it.
Yeah. But I would recommend, if you have the opportunity for that, for the convention you're doing, if they allow you,
set it up before.
I would do it, because
you don't have to
take
think
your
about
time.
It. Set it and forget it.
Otherwise, you're coming in an hour and a half
scrambling.
Early. Not scrambling, but you're taking your time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, people are walking up to your table going, what's this? What's that?
Right. Yeah.
And it's much easier to go in early, have everything set up.
Like the day before.
Day before,
I see. Right,
day before,
yeah.
or, go in 2 hours early.
Yeah.
Takes you an hour to set up. You've got an hour. And in that hour, you can wander around, see what's on the floor.
Okay.
Talk to other people that are having their coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know the other artists and writers and toy makers.
Okay. Speaking of getting up and walking around and stuff, obviously, it's not like just doing some sort of like farmer's market thing like I've done a couple for the adventure sauce stuff that we have. Usually those are only like 3 or 4 hours. Now, this is going to be a long thing. I mean, it's going to be several hours. I think
10 to 5 or 10 to 7?
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, is sitting frowned upon? I mean, because I always want to stand. I want to stand for the entire thing as much as possible.
You totally want to stand as much as you physically can.
Yeah.
It's on 99% of the time. The convention floor is cement.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm going to recommend wearing really comfortable shoes.
Okay.
Put some insoles in there.
Yep.
You're going to sit. There's going to be lulls. You can sit, but it's such better salesperson.
Yeah. I agree.
Method if you're standing talking to somebody.
Plus, I feel more optimized myself when I'm doing that. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, I like to be able to I don't know. I just feel like there's a respect there for people who are walking by. Like I'm engaged.
And it feels like you care.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting.
Exactly.
Of course, you're going to get caught. There'll be a break. You'll take that opportunity to eat a sandwich, sit down, eat a sandwich. And as soon as you take that first bite, there's going to be a crowd of people coming up.
Yeah.
And
so I love Italian food. I was just thinking about bringing pastas, noodles, and stuff like that. Okay,
Yeah.
just slurp around or
stroganoff,
right.
soup. No, what you, it'll be busy. There's always a lull. Usually around, almost guaranteed around 2:00. You'll see if this happens, but there's going to be times that you need to take a bathroom break, or I highly recommend just take a break. You're there to experience everything.
Right.
Walk around, see what else is out there, meet
Yeah.
people. Of course, when you do leave your table is when the most important person ever in your career
Walks up.
is going to be looking for you at that table.
Yeah.
And if that happens, you'll have table neighbors.
I'm also going with my girlfriend. She will be there.
Okay.
Although she's definitely on the introverted side. She's like, I'm going to be there to help you ring stuff up and keep inventory. But don't ask me to make sales pitches,
Well, good. You'll be fine. But even if both of you are gone.
Yeah. I gotcha.
And you'll have your table neighbors. Just ask them.
Okay. That's okay. That's cool to do.
They can, and you'll do it for them.
Okay.
Handle a sale for them if someone's interested, or they'll do it for you. But also, my recommendation is, if the most important person in the world comes by your table while you're gone, make sure that your neighbor gets that person's telephone number or email and name, because the person will always say, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll come back later."
Yeah.
And they never do. And for the rest of the day and the week, you'll be like, was that the producer that was going to, give me an Amazon Prime deal?
Yeah. By the way, because a lot of people don't know, I should have mentioned this ahead of time. Paul is not some small time hack when it comes to Comic Cons. I mean, he's giving very seasoned advice. He's been at some of the biggest Comic Cons in the world, including the San Diego Comic Con, so on a number of occasions. So he knows what he's talking about. Okay, so let's keep moving on here. Speaking of food, so I mean, you're definitely talking about stay away. I know you told me the other day, you're like, stay away from the convention food. Bring some food with you. Keep it, kind of compact. Obviously, I was joking about the pasta. You want to just have something you can quickly bite and, get on your way type thing.
So the convention hall, if they do have food in the convention, it's going to be overpriced pizza or nachos. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a humongous line all day long for that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have time to go stand for 40 minutes. What you want to do, either bring it with you, or before you go to the convention, if it's out of town, find out where the grocery store or convenience store is, and load up the night before, the morning of, pre-make some sandwiches, buy some subs, trail mix, granola bars, a banana or two.
It's like you're on a road trip.
Yeah, and just bring them whatever you want to drink, soda, water. Bring a water bottle because you'll be able to fill that up during the day. Coffee, get that beforehand also, because if there is a Starbucks at the convention center, that line is going to be a mile long.
Right. Yeah.
So just be prepared.
Okay. Gotcha.
Whatever you'd like.
So going back to what to take, so I just want to make sure that we're really staying pointed on that. So obviously you're bringing your products and stuff like that.
Right.
The convention, they're going to provide a table, right?
Yeah. Unless they specify they're not. But usually that would be a street festival or something.
Yeah, gotcha.
For it's a convention, they'll give you a standard 6 foot by 2.5 foot table. Bring your own tablecloth. They don't always have a tablecloth.
I also have a retractable, like a banner. It's like
that's great.
5.5 feet
People
wide.
People love to see that behind you because it's a good identifier.
Yep. Okay, great. Let me see. Okay, so obviously, we talked about the spinner racks and you got your products and stuff like that.
But also you want to bring a charger for your phone.
Yes.
Because
I'm going to be ringing up everything on my phone. I'm using Square.
And a lot of times, unless you pay extra, you're not going to have electricity at your booth.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're
I usually just bring that, one of those big, like, bulky chargers.
Perfect. Especially, if you're doing Venmo or PayPal or Square, you're going to run out of juice at one point.
Okay. Cash, is cash king there too, or no?
Not as much.
Right.
I think. But brings up a great point. You do want to bring a lot of change. I like to bring about $20 in $1 bills.
Okay.
Several 5s, several 10s.
Okay.
And you should be good from that because as people pay, you're bringing, every time it seems like you're running out of one, somebody all of a sudden shows up and it's like, is it okay if I pay with ones? And you're like, you're my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. So do you bring about like what, like $100, $150 in cash, just to have
around 100? Yeah,
around $100. Okay. Yeah.
And then also, I like to print out my QR code from Venmo. Or the Square.
Okay.
QR code, and then I print it out on a index size image, and that way, and then I put that at the top of my spinner rack, and whenever people use Venmo, they can just scan it from their app, and they don't have to look you up. You know that it's obviously going to you.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. And then you were also talking about like keeping a piece of paper with a spreadsheet and,
What?
Come on, I went to art school, bro.
Fit it to what you're comfortable with.
Right, but this basically it's just to track.
It's an inventory list.
Right, how many you've sold and that it's not just a matter of just like keeping tally on how much money you've made. It's a matter of like how much do I have left?
What have I sold? What do I have left?
Yeah.
When I sell T-shirts, I have small, medium, large, extra large, double XL.
Yeah.
I have women's sizes and I have kids sizes.
Yeah.
And not enough room on the table to display the entire collection of T-shirts. So I'll put one example of the T-shirt on the table, folded up. And when people come by and they're like, do you have a women's medium?
Mm-hmm. I know.
I can look at the shirt or the sheet and immediately say, yes, I've got 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I don't have to dig through every single time.
Right.
To find out if I do. Also, another important thing, having the list, is at the end of the convention, the item that you thought you brought like 20 prints of a flower, and you brought 20 prints of a robot, and you figured the robot was going to sell, but for some reason the flower sells. You've got a record how many of those you sold. You sold 19 flowers and 3 robots. Next year, when you go back to the convention and you were wondering, should I bring a bunch of robots again? You can look and say, oh, the flowers did really well. I should do another series. I should have 2 series of flowers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, word got around that flowers were really big because you were selling like hotcakes. And
right.
You get there and everybody's selling flowers with superhero capes.
So when you do multiple conventions throughout the year, it's always good to see what is selling at each different convention.
Yeah.
Because based on location, people have different taste.
Yeah. Now, big note, I don't know if you've got this on your list or anything like that, but we did talk about it. Now, you were, now I'm largely going there with Burny Wild's art. And by the way, if anybody wants to know about Burny Wilds, they can go to BurnnyWilds.com, where you can see all the goodies over there. And by the way, we're going to plug the hell out of Paul Friedrich stuff in the middle of this podcast and also at the end. But on that note, one thing you noted, because I'm going to be Burny centric at the Comic-Con, although I have other stuff I'd like to, but I want to try and keep it sort of consolidated. And it's an experimentation. You also said that, depending on the Comic-Con, there are a lot of times people are walking by and they just want some superhero stuff.
They know what they want.
Yeah.
But this is great. This is a great experience for you. It's your first one. Focus on having fun.
Yeah.
Focus on meeting people, seeing what's out there, and introducing people to what you're doing.
Let me know if this is the right attitude. For me, I feel like I'm just excited that it's the first time that I'm doing this. I don't have a lot of expectation that I'm going to sell a bunch, even though I'm very proud of what I'm selling. I've realized that nobody knows who the hell this is, and
that's
they don't know who I am.
That's what the first convention is for.
Yeah, this is a great point. You mentioned this to me. So talk about the superhero thing, but then also about what it means being the first, second, third, fourth time when you go to a Comic-Con.
So each convention has its own personality. Each comic book convention has its own personality. And a lot of these smaller or mid-sized ones tend to generate more of a superhero crowd. Mm-hmm. And the superhero crowd knows what they want, and they know what they like, and they know what they're looking for, and they're only looking for superhero stuff.
Yeah.
But because they're family events, you're going to get the whole family coming, and they might not all be interested in superheroes. Mm-hmm. So they'll gravitate to your table. Mm-hmm. To be fair, all superhero fans aren't only interested in superheroes, but primarily. Mm-hmm. But it's also like finding the right convention for you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a arts and crafts fair where you're the only cartoonist.
Yeah.
Or the only hot sauce maker.
Right. Exactly.
Or it's, a rock and roll street festival or something.
Right.
And then there are comic book conventions like San Diego and New York and Seattle where you just get people that just love pop culture. Mm-hmm. They're just looking for something new and something good. And when you have good quality and great artwork and good colors and a fun book like you do, they're going to find you.
Right. So, it's kind of I guess it's a little bit of a gamble because I don't really know that much about this Comic-Con. I'm assuming it's going to be on a smaller level, but it's hard to say. It's a medium-sized town in North Carolina, probably one of the bigger ones in North Carolina. And, as a part of me is like, should I have some superhero stuff that I could print up? But I don't know if it's going to be like a record scratch type thing when they're looking at all my Burny stuff, and then there's like a couple of like rando, Superman stuff. So,
but it's also, you have to believe in you.
Yeah.
You're not going to please every single person that's
right
at this convention. So you got to pick your slice of the pie.
Yeah. Okay.
And then dominate that corner of the market.
Yes. Dominate. Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like I was going to ask another question, and I got. You have a couple other things that you wanted to mention.
So
go for it.
The 4 stages you were alluding to.
Yes. Yes. Awesome.
So the 4 stages are: the first one, it's who are you, what do you have. So you're setting the groundwork. Good on you if you have the most amazing, successful first show.
Right.
People tend not to live up to their expectations because it's your first one, and there's other people that have been there that are people are looking for.
Right.
But that leads you have to do the first to get to your second. So the next year they come back and they're like, we were looking for you. We met you last year. We liked what you did. We want to see what you got this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third year, it's like, we love you. We came here for you.
Right.
And then after that, the fourth and fifth year, they're just like, whatever you have, we want to buy it.
Right. Now, does that mean that I should anticipate, unless it's a complete disaster from a logistical standpoint, or it just didn't like the people that were putting on the Comic-Con, should I just anticipate going to that same Comic-Con, because of that? Should I just anticipate going to that same one next year as a result? Like, if I had a good time, seemed like I met some cool people, made a little bit of cash, go next year?
I think so. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of times
because of that.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have a sense
Right.
after you do it. If you wind up acting as an information booth for everybody,
mm-hmm.
if they're just like, you're like, I got this stuff, this great stuff, and they're like, yeah. Where can I find that guy that was doing the sword and sorcery book? If your whole day is like that, you're going to know that wasn't your convention.
Right. Yeah.
But you're going to meet a lot of great people. I look at a lot of these conventions as like summer camp. Like, I'm excited when I go to the convention in Seattle, because there's some people that I'm going to see. Some people I see at several conventions throughout the year, but there's some people I see only at that convention, and we've become great friends
mm-hmm.
by seeing each other 4 days a week, or 4 days out of the year, every year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then you also meet great people coming to your table, and a lot of times there'll be a kid that loves what you're doing, and every year their parent will bring them back, and you get to see them grow up.
That's awesome.
And then sometimes, like, you'll see them, they'll start bringing you their comic books.
Yeah.
And that's even better.
Yeah, that's killer. So this is actually a fairly decent segue or connective question. Talk to us about how to work a table. How do you avoid being too pushy? How do you avoid, how do you avoid all the pitfalls? And how do you, accentuate the positives, I guess?
That's always a tricky thing, because it's all based on your personality.
Yeah.
And what do you like? Do you like pushy salespeople? There are pushy salespeople, and they're there because
I just like friendly people,
Yeah.
Like, I think I go to Comic-Cons, and if they're super cool and their art seems decent, I'm probably going to buy something.
And it's a comic book world, so you've got a lot of people that are introverted,
mm-hmm.
and selling is not their strong point. So you are going to have some good conversations with people that are happy just to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you're happy to talk to them. There are pushy people. I avoid them. But I've found the most successful salespeople in the comic book world are people that were also in a rock and roll band, that know how, especially if they were the lead singer, they're friendly, they're outgoing.
Yeah.
They want to share their excitement of their project with you, and you get caught up in that emotion.
Right. Yeah. I think I have a lot of that. I mean, obviously I'm a musician, played in bands all my life, so
You're going to have no problem.
Yeah.
For me, when I started, it was hard. Like, how do you people were walking by, how do you grab them without being offensive? And I had postcards that I would hand out to people, and that was a way to get them to stop and then look at what I'm doing.
yeah.
And then we'd start talking, and then I could make a sale because...
Were you standing
they were
like
interested.
behind the booth?
Behind the booth,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then that helped me be able to make eye contact with people and be like, hey, how you doing today? Would you like to take a look at my book? And that's another thing. You should have, more so than practicing how you're going to set up your table, I would recommend practicing your pitch, your elevator pitch for your book or your table. And that can be 1 to 1 to 2 to 3 sentences that just gives a really quick overview.
Yeah.
And also is interesting that they want to hear more.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, when I'm doing those the farmers markets where I'm selling the adventure sauce, which I can't do at the Comic-Con, which is a little bit of a bummer, but you know, at those, the name itself, Burny Wild's adventure sauce, usually is a draw. You know, we've done some A/B testing. It was like, would you like to try some hot sauce? And they go, okay. But then I go, would you like to try some Burny Wild's adventure sauce? Reels them right in, man. And they got a smile on their face. Now, I don't have that advantage this time. So I guess I have to figure out, you know, how to navigate that in a way where you're surrounded by people that have all kinds of cool names and cool graphics and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's necessarily a question that you can answer to help alleviate that.
Can I interest you in the book based on the adventure sauce?
Right. Yeah.
That you can't have here because.
Right. That's actually not bad. I like that. Yeah.
It's too good.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to say about that as far as
no, you'll find your stride, but definitely don't sit in your chair, hunched over, drawing in your sketchbook, not making eye contact.
Yeah. Good question. I actually, that makes me think, like, you know, the ratio of ready-made art in comparison to like sketched art, or some people recommend even doing drawings while you're there, and then that's sort of a way to attract people, but there's a balance there, obviously.
I think if you put up a sign or that says, you know, you're taking commissions, you're doing commissions or sketches on request, and also know what your price is for that. For the professionals that work for Marvel or DC, they're charging hundreds of dollars. You might be as talented as they are, but you're not a name, you're not a brand yet.
Yeah.
So you're likely not going to get that kind of money. But say, like, you know, $10, this is what I'll do. I did something really simple where I would draw a portrait of you as a stormtrooper from Star Wars. And it's a cartoon, and the joke is I would draw a cartoon of your body, but your head was always just a cartoon stormtrooper. So I didn't have to worry about facial features or anything. Right. And when I started doing that, because it was a joke and I was doing it on index cards, I was like, pay what you like. And some people paid $1 and some people paid $10.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And then I would also watercolor it. And I wasn't worried about the price because my goal was people love to see the artist draw. They love to watch you. A crowd will gather. And while you're drawing and painting, they start flipping through your books or your prints, and they spend more time at your table, and they'll slowly start stacking up more stuff. And it's a way to hold their attention at the table.
Yeah.
And now, because I know a basic price point for this, I'm like, you know, portrait of you as a stormtrooper is $5.
Yeah. See, now this is a lot different because, again, going back to the other markets that I've done where it's more like, you know, ready-made products and stuff like that, and food and beverage type stuff. You know, I can't if I'm engaged with somebody and somebody else comes up, I can't say I'll be with you in 10 minutes. So what is that like at Comic Cons? I mean, are people cool with you just sitting there drawing, especially if you're the only person there? Can't ring anything up. You can't sell.
You can. I would, if that happens, if they're ready to go, they have their stack and you can see that they're ready to pay.
Yeah.
Nobody minds if you put your drawing down, do the transaction, crack a joke with them, and then go right back to.
Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah. Nice.
And then some people even, they would leave a photograph, or they would text me a photograph of the person they wanted to do the portrait of, and they would leave and they would come back an hour later.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you have that option.
Okay, great. Now, what are some of the things that are there any like major pitfalls that kind of come to mind that, you know, nightmare scenarios that maybe we should be aware of?
The biggest nightmare is don't lose your cash, or don't lose your phone.
Yeah. Didn't you have something where you lost your cash or something like that? Oh, yeah,
I didn't, but I know people that have.
Yeah.
When I have cash and it's always in my pocket.
Yeah.
With a rubber band wrapped around it, so it's tight.
Okay.
And if if it's a if it's a 4 or 5 day convention, I'm not carrying all that cash with me. It's left someplace safe.
Mm-hmm.
And don't leave it at your table at night. Or if you keep it a lot of people keep it in a box. Don't set that box on your table.
Yeah.
Put it underneath your table by your feet. I know some people that have had cash, like I said, in a box on the table, and they turned around or they stepped away for a minute and it was gone.
Yeah.
That's the biggest pitfall. The second would be losing your phone, because then you can't take credit cards.
Yeah.
Can't text people. Third would be stepping away and somebody saying, "Oh, somebody came by looking for you," and they'll come back, and they never come back.
So let's talk about pricing. How do you figure out what is the right pricing, and is it a faux pas? Is it bad to adjust on the fly if you
Not
like
at all.
never panic, or what is the situation there? I don't want to get to the point where I'm just like, oh, not enough people are coming, I'm just going to slash my prices in half.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Okay.
the market fluctuates. I've done it before. I've had a stack of books, and I was selling them for one price, and people were buying them without even thinking. And so I started raising it, and because my quantity was going down, and I had more time, so I knew even if I raised the price and sold it every other time,
Yeah.
I would still sell all the books that I had. And I just kept raising the price until
It reached the threshold.
yeah.
Okay.
But also, a lot of people on the multiple day conventions, Sunday afternoon, 2 hours before it's getting ready to close, you don't want to carry it on the airplane. Suddenly it's half price. But yeah, the market, price it how it's selling. If you're saying it's $10 and people are like, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't, without even thinking, start raising it to 15. And,
Okay.
but also walk around, see how much people are selling t-shirts for.
Okay. But does that mean that if I have to be ready to be malleable on the pricing, does that mean I don't have anything printed up as far as what the costs are?
Depends what you want to do. You could print up cards that said $10 and 10, 15, and 20, and just pull out which card you want to put on your table. I have friends that do it, and they have little table tents with the prices on it, and they set them up. I go the other way. I don't have any prices. I have the prices set. And you want to be fair, because you don't know if someone asks you a price and then they come back the next day and they ask you the price again. You don't want to give them a different price, because that makes you look shady.
Right.
So I do have a set price. But my theory is, if somebody's walking through the convention and they look at the table and they say, this is $20, they start thinking, is this worth $20?
Yeah.
If I don't have the prices on the table, they love the book, they're already putting in their bag, and you say it's $20, they're like, my heart's already connected to this. I'm going to pay that price.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's just, again, what kind of shop do you want to have?
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of conversations do you want to have? And then there's some people that, buy a ton of stuff.
Right.
Buy one of everything, and you'll give them a deal.
Yeah.
Either you discount it some, or you throw in one or two extra things, make it special.
Yeah, and right now, we've had Burny Wilds live and in the wild, no pun intended, for about 6 months, and I've done maybe 6 markets and stuff like that. There's a part of me that just wants to get the product out there so people just know what it is. But at the same time, I also want to keep my prices kind of high because I want to try and I don't want to be that bargain basement, shop. I want it to be something that people really appreciate and want to get it because it's good quality and there's care put into the work and stuff like that.
There's a lot to be said for perception of value.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of value, I think I want to take a pause real quick. We're going to do a little Paul Friedrich commercial. So Paul is all over the place, as I've mentioned before. Not mentally, he's very focused, but but in terms of where you can find him, let me just drop some notes for you. So if you wanted to buy some of Paul Friedrich's work, you can go to paulfriedrich.net, and that's Paul, as you would know, Paul, Friedrich, like fried rich, but Friedrich. And then you can find him on Instagram at paulfriedrich.net, DOTNET. He's also on Twitter, and his handle is allpaul, ALLPAUL. And you can support him on Patreon at /Paul Friedrich. And then if you wanted to get into some NFT stuff, you can go to foundation.app // Friedrich. If you don't know his work already, it's fantastic. It's definitely iconic. He's a hero of mine, and I always look to him for inspiration, creative inspiration, and also, obviously, words of wisdom. So anyway, I wanted to get back to the flow of the convention. Now, obviously, you got speakers that suck the air out of the room a lot of times. Am I right? I mean, I don't know that to be the case because a lot of times I go to see the speakers, so I don't really know what's going on in between them. But I'm assuming that, you have your high traffic and your low traffic times, right? What can I expect?
So for the Wilmington convention, which I'm not familiar with, but I get a sense of it, I think there's going to be a lot of people there for the fun of it, first of all. Yeah. Second, to show off their cosplay costumes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, you're going to, as another reason to take a charger for your phone because you're going to be taking a lot of photos.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of celebrities doing autographs, and there'll be some panel discussions. Mm-hmm. When there's a big panel discussion, the room you'll notice that the room's getting a little lopsided.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But then when they come out, they're gonna go wander
rush
around
again. Yeah.
And depending on what the convention is like, if there's there's convention exclusives for toys or comics.
What's that? What are exclusive? Like they're only selling them at the convention?
Correct.
Okay. And that are you talking about like artists, or are you talking about like vendors, like people who are just selling like not artists but products?
Yeah, like either it's a new special comic book only for this convention, or it's.
I guess you could also potentially have like actual comic book publications, right?
Right. Or toys.
Yeah.
The bigger conventions will have a Funko exclusive.
Yeah. Right.
And people will rush to get that, mm-hmm. and once they get it, then they'll start filter down and start looking, and then they'll go to the superhero stuff, and then once they do that, they'll start going to Artist Alley or Small Press.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know about the independent artists doing small press work, and they'll come there and be like, "This is I had no idea this was here. This is now my favorite. Like, there's so much creativity.
Yeah, small press is amazing.
And that's another thing or another reason I recommend taking time to wander around, because you'll see so much creativity.
Yeah.
And there's 100 different ways to do a comic about a cat, and you'll see some crappy art, and then you'll see some art that makes you question, why are you even trying to be an artist? But just remember, everybody has a dream.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying it out, and everyone is also going to look at your stuff, and they're going to be inspired by it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the beauty of it too. I think, my hope is that I'm going to go there and I'm going to feel like I'm a part of a family to some degree. And, I think I do fear sometimes that there's this competitiveness. And I suppose you're probably going to find that here and there with certain artists and stuff like that. And, for me, I just want to feel like I'm a part of something cool. Cause I remember I started going to Comic Cons kind of late in my life, I had a different path, and, I didn't really get a chance to go to my first Comic Con. I think it was probably only like 5 years ago. I think when I went with George Hodge, I think that was my first Comic Con. I went to Small Press Expo
In Bethesda.
Yeah.
That's one of the great ones.
And what was funny is that as I was walking, it only took me a couple minutes before I was like, I'm with my people. I realized that I was with my people, even though I hadn't been to any Comic Cons before then.
And that's another great thing about the comic book conventions. Sorry, I paused because I didn't intend to do a Tony the Tiger. Great. But Small Press Expo.
I would have loved it if you'd done that, though.
Which is a 3-day convention now. And it's in a small town, and most of everybody stays at the same hotel.
Yeah.
Everybody gather, and there's not much else to do.
You talking about Small Press?
Yeah, in Bethesda.
Yeah.
And there's not much else to do in Bethesda, so everyone gathers in the hotel bar lobby, and you just get to sit and talk with other artists, and you get to sit. You get to be introduced to your heroes, and chat with them, and make new friends, and learn new techniques, and learn new books that you must have. And it's wonderful. Like, then that's the convention you're doing in Wilmington. I believe it's a 1-day. Mm-hmm. So most likely everyone's going to pack up and go home.
Right.
But when you can do a 2-day convention, and you get to see,
stay overnight
and just
chill with these other
listen
artists.
To these. Yeah.
I mean, when I went to the Small Press Expo, I wasn't, and like I said, this is my first time doing it over here at Wilmington, so I was just there as a fan, and it was really cool because I got to sit around with all these other artists, and I was drawing with them and everything, so it was, it was just like one big hang, and I love that, man. It's like I just love this community of artists, and I'm just excited to be a part of something that's a little bit extra that I haven't experienced yet before, and I'm really looking forward to diving head in first. So
you're gonna have such a great time.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask yourself why you didn't do this earlier.
Yeah.
And that's always the case with everybody. I went through that.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I think we've hit quite a bit of stuff, man. I mean, I think the main thing is outside of that is I'm just going to try and have fun, like I said, and then I'm going to report back to you, and maybe I can talk a little bit about it. We can have
you can teach me some things.
Oh, man, I don't know about that, but definitely will have some laughs, I'm sure. But Paul, what were you going to say something?
I was going to say, start planning our next one.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. The follow-up. So let me just ask you before we start wrapping things up here. Do you have a Comic-Con coming up yourself, or what's the deal?
My next one is going to be the San Diego Comic-Con in July.
Ooh,
And that's the biggest one in the country.
Is this the first one that they're doing like live, or did they do it last year?
This will be the first one in 2 years that they'll be doing in person.
Okay. Yeah.
They just did WonderCon last weekend.
Okay.
In Anaheim. Apparently that went extremely well.
Wait, so are you telling me that they did San Diego like in the midst of the very beginning of the pandemic?
No,
so this will be the third year.
Yeah.
This will be third year that you...
In 2020...
They didn't
In
do
2021,
it, right?
They did virtual. They did not have it in person.
Right. But they didn't do it in 2020, right?
Not in person.
Yeah, not in person. Yeah, so this will basically be the first time in 3 years. Yeah, that you've gone physical.
Since 2019, yes.
Right, yeah.
So very excited about that. It's inspired me. I'm working right now on 3 new books.
Wow.
I can't wait to see everybody that, we've kept in touch in Zoom and messaging, but haven't seen these people in that time, and I really miss them.
Are those 3 books going to be ready by the time Comic-Con comes out, the San Diego one?
Well, that's the plan.
Damn. Okay.
It's nothing like a deadline to inspire you.
That's so true. Wow. That's awesome. Okay. So that's the very next one. That's going to be amazing. Well, we'll definitely have to report back afterwards, and I'll tell you about my little Comic-Con. You can tell me about your gigantic superhero giant Comic-Con, man.
I can't wait for you to have that experience.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Man, I really appreciate it. Let me run through this real quick. Once again, Paul Friedrich, master pop icon artist. You can find him at paulfriedrich.net. He's on Instagram at paulfriedrich.net as well. And that's DOTNET. His handle on Twitter is allpaul. He's on Patreon. You can support him there at Paul Friedrich. And then also, if you want to get into some of his NFT stuff, you can go to foundation.app/Friedrich. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to help me. I can't wait to report back as soon as I'm done. And yeah, man, cheers.
Thank you. It's so good to be back in the studio.
Yeah.
Everything's looking great.
Awesome, man. All right, boom. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Pencil Pushers Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at the Pencil Pushers Podcast for visual representation of our guest artwork, topics discussed, and anything else that contributes to the show. So be sure to subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell lots and lots of friends. Become a Leadhead. And we're out.